We are back in the back garden, and over the next few days I'm going to be realising the dream of a lifetime, which I've established over the past couple of years, of having my own backyard mini ramp. It's going to afford me the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of riding a skateboard in the back garden every day of the week. Let's go and get some wood. Okay, I've just been to Dorchester Timber, got myself some wood. In the kit list are 3 8x4 sheets of 18mm ply. Those will do the sides of the quarter pipes and also the platforms. One sheet will allow me to cut out 2 transitions, and then I'm going to split the other one in half so I get 2 2-foot wide platforms. I also got 34 8-foot lengths of 2x4. Those will do the beams across and also make the flat bottom. The other things I got were 15 breeze blocks to stand the whole ramp on, and I also found some concrete path edging with a round top, 50mm, and I'm going to use that for makeshift coping. I couldn't find any scaffold pole, but I really like concrete coping. I'm going to go for that pool vibe, so I'm hoping that this concrete coping lacquered up will work. I also got myself a truckload of screws. I got 400 decking screws, and I got 200 big long 100mm screws to do the beam work. I've got some paint and some bits and bobs in the shed, so I bought myself a paintbrush and a roller so I can paint things as we go. I think we're ready to get cracking. Okay, just drawing out the transition radius. I've rigged up my kite line, which is really low stretch, 6'10" on the radius. Just pop my pencil in. I've experimented with various radiuses, and I think this one will work. Sketch it across, keep the line tight, and then I've got my transition radius. Next job, cut it out. Okay, that's the 4 transitions cut. I've gone for a 3-foot height and a 6.5-foot radius. Hopefully that'll mean that I can still get a good clearance when I rock the board and go for board slides. I'm going to paint these now to protect them from the weather, and then it's going to be a case of putting the struts across. Okay, I'm going to try an experimental idea, some concrete coping. I've given these a sand down, and now I'm going to give them a few coats of clear coat just to get them nice and slippery. Here we go. Okay, it's an early start on day 2. All the transitions are finished and painted, looking quite splendid. Just marking off every 10 inches where the beams need to go. Then I'm going to drill the holes and stick the beams in, and the quarter pipes should start to take shape. Exciting times. Okay, that's all the cross beams in. Just brought the quarter pipe down to the end of the garden to see where this is going to fit in. Might have to trim a bit of this palm tree back. Going to get the other quarter pipe done, and then I can lay out the flat bottom, check that I've got enough plywood to do the surface. Okay, that's all the beams in now. I've treated myself to a little offer up to see how it will look in position. I've got to level out the bottom and put the breeze blocks in place to seat the ramp. And I also wanted to check out how my flat bottom was going to work, see how many struts I needed and make that flat bottom. Then I can take it out, level it off, and then put it all back in, and then you can start putting the ply on. Woo! Okay, I've cut all the beams for the flat bottom. It's now just a case of screwing them in. Okay, that's the flat bottom finished. Pretty excited, starting to really look like a ramp now. Less exciting is trying to prepare the base, so I'm going to have to take this out and then start putting the breeze blocks in place and measuring them and making sure everything's flat. that's all the foundations levelled off. I've put the breeze blocks in and put some chocks underneath. It's all level. Whew, that took a while, but it was worth doing. Next job is to stick the decks on. Well, it's an early start on day 3. Let's take a closer look at how this coping fits on. So if you have a look, there's a pocket I've created. There's a piece of wood at the back which alters the height. And also this is going to be held down with an extra bit of wood on the top. And then the deck is going to come across and pinch it from the top. And then the ramp is going to come up from behind and pinch it. So it should be pretty stable. I don't want to glue or anchor this in because the idea is that if this wears out, at 30 quid for the whole coping, I can just drop some new coping in. Also, to start with, I just want to be able to adjust it to exactly the right height. So I'm going to ride it a little bit, and if it's too tall or if it's not enough coping, I can come in and adjust this back rod up and down until I'm happy. First job this morning is a lot of painting. I'm going to paint all these ply sheets, back and front, ready to put in. But it's an exciting day because by the end of the day, there's a good chance I might be in some position to have a ride. I'm using a bit of this crazy Gorilla Glue stuff to put the two coping blocks together. I toyed with the idea of sticking some cement in between, but I think this structure is going to flex a little bit. And that's going to immediately crack and flake off. So I'm hoping this will bend and move a little bit more, the Gorilla Glue. Once this is dry, I'm going to sand it back so that it's nice and flat, and then I'm going to put loads of lacquer and sauce over the top. Hopefully that will strengthen the join and it won't be so liable to chip. I've never tried this before, and I don't think I've seen this sort of done, so it's a bit of a trial and error situation. I'm hoping it works out, but if it doesn't, or if it only lasts for 6 months, I can always drop some extra ones in just because these stones are so cheap. Once these are in place, I'm going to chock them from behind, and then I'm going to put the deck on, and that should hopefully hold the whole lot in place in a sturdy fashion. Okay, I've finished the coping and I've also painted the decks. While those are drying, it's finally time to put the first layer of ply on. Well, that's the bottom layer of ply on. I've done it so I can squeeze the two halves together to get a really tight fit on the final join. So I'm going to put the next lot on, see where that lies to, and then I can then push the tranny up to the middle of the bottom, make sure that all the ply fits really snug. Just doing some work on the coping now. This Gorilla Glue has worked really well, it holds them firmly in place. Just getting a file and making sure that that is totally flat across the top so the truck can't catch and cause wear. And then I'm going to put loads and loads of lacquer all over the top, and I'm hoping that will protect that joint. Well, that's it for a busy day 3. Managed to get that plywood on, it's really looking like a ramp now. Found some fence paint in the shed, and I've put that on as a precautionary measure just to protect the ply. Obviously you're not going to see this when the top layer of ply is on. Top layer of ply is going on tomorrow, lacquering the coping tomorrow and putting the decks on, so hopefully we should be riding. Okay, it's day 4, just a few jobs left. Number 1, cut a little infill for this side here and paint it blue. Number 2, lacquer the coping. It's a job I'm particularly looking forward to. It's so satisfying to get the lacquer on and see how that coping's going to be finished. Number 3, get the decks fitted. And number 4, put the final layer of ply on. I'm going to do some more bracing as well and put some more posts in just to support the structure. After all of that, hopefully, we should be able to get our first skate. Okay, the time has finally come to spray the coping. I've been looking forward to this for ages. I've given it a good sand down and made sure that these joints are nice and smooth. Got some clear coat lacquer here. So if I spray this on, hopefully she should come up a treat. I'm going to give it 2 or 3 coats, then I can fit the deck and the ply, and we should be good to go. It's time to fit the platforms. I've put a 45-degree angle on the front of this platform, so when I put it up against the coping, it'll fit snugly and also lock the coping down in place, add a little bit of extra stability. I'm going to screw these in. Okay, I'm just fitting these top sheets. Just to save missing the beams with the screws, I'm going down and marking out where each beam is and putting a faint pencil line across. That means when the screw goes in, it hits the beam. There's nothing worse than missing a beam. The screw spins round, doesn't catch, then you can't get it back out. Oh my gosh, leaves a hole. Woo. Bit of prep, hopefully she'll be good. Well, that's all the top ply on now. I still need to paint the top ply, do a bit of filling, and also I'm going to put some more posts in to support it. But I can't wait to give it a quick run. I'm going to start with a few rock fakies just to see how it feels. This is my first time in. Woohoo! I'm just going to paint the decks to start with. If it feels good under the skateboards when it's dry, I'm going to do the whole ramp to protect it. Okay, a little tip for putting the first coat of paint on, you just need to water it down by half just so it gets into the wood. The wood's quite thirsty. Also, it does bring a little bit of the grain out, so I've gone over and sanded the whole first coat down ready for the second coat. I've also taken the time just to fill any gaps and imperfections, so hopefully when I put this second coat on, we should be golden. When that's it all finished, got the top coat of paint on, I couldn't resist just putting a facsimile of the tiles at the top to go with the concrete coping. I've also concreted in more supports and painted the side blue, put this filler piece in the side, so she is ready to go. This cheap masonry paint seems to have done the job. 2 coats and it's dried. It's got a similar grip level to concrete. When you slide the wheels, it makes that familiar sound. As a final last touch, I've taken a highlighter pen and I've drawn in the grout to complete the tile effect. Okay, that's it for the backyard mini ramp build. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out, but on reflection, here are a few things that I learned during the process. Number 1, try not to rush. This is an exciting build and my mind was always fixated on riding the ramp and getting to a point where I could test the transition and see if that coping worked. So holding back a little bit, painting things in order, not rushing it, really could save some time. There was times when I had to take things apart because I'd already put them together to see how they looked, and then I really wasted a lot of time doing that. Number 2, beg, steal or borrow the best tools you can. I didn't really have a great array of tools. A bad workman always blames his tools. I'm a bad workman, I'm blaming my tools. Luckily, my mate Matt Jenkins has got a plethora of world-class tools because he's a tradesman, and he was kind enough to help me out cutting the big long ply sheets and also cutting that 45-degree angle, which proved to be really important to get a snug fit on the coping and to get everything to line up. So get some good tools if you can. Number 3, measure twice, cut once. That old cliche works a treat, and it ties in with trying not to rush, so it's worth just taking your time, measuring everything twice, so you only have to cut it once. Number 4, level the ground. It's really important to have level ground for the quarter pipes. Not so much so that you're riding up or down a hill, because you can compensate for that and you can ride quirky little bits of ramp. But the problem is that if the ramp isn't straight, when you put the ply on, it's sort of on a wonk and then it won't fit down properly, and it'll also create gaps between the ply. So I found that when I offered up the ply the first time, my ramp wasn't perfectly straight and I couldn't work out why I couldn't get it all to fit together. I had to trace back, undo everything, level it all off and go back in. Again, it wasted loads of time because I was being too hasty to try and get it all in done first. So level out your foundation. Number 5, paint all the edges of the plywood. At least, if you can, paint all of the surfaces of all exposed wood. What I've tried to do is try to stem the tide and also make the underneath sheets as durable as possible. The idea being maybe every season I just need to redo the top layer, but hopefully all of the bottom stuff will still be intact. So the bottom sheets that you're not going to ride on, you're not going to see, I just really gave them a dose of Cuprinol and wood preserver in an attempt to try and keep those good. For the top coat, I've used Masonry paint. Seems to work really well. It'll breathe, but it's waterproof, and also it gives you loads of grip. You can get squeaky wheels on it, and you can get whatever shade you want for the top. So a bit of Masonry paint, job's a good one. You could also invest in a cover just to keep the worst of the weather off and also stop any pooling. I think the pooling of water would really eat into the whole ramp, and it'll take a while for that to dry out. Number 6, allow a little bit more room in the budget. I've found that there's always an extra pot of screws, an extra brush, bit of paint, an extra bit of 2x4, another bag of Post Crete. All those things add up over and above what you think you're going to spend. I still need to put some safety railings on the back, so that's another 8 bits of 2x4 wood that I've got to go and buy. And that all adds up, so a little bit more extra room in the budget. Oh yeah. Number 7, brace as much as you can. I found when I did my first few runs, the ramp was flexing a bit. So I went back in and just put an extra brace underneath the coping, also some braces around the side, some noggins. Basically, the more bracing you can put in, the more solid the ramp is going to feel. Number 8, just get twice as many screws as you think you'll need. I started off with 600 screws. I think I ended up using double that. This is a screw-hungry project. As ever, my name's John Bishop, and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to use power tools. Yeah.